First of all, I just want to let you know how honored I am to be here. I was incredibly excited about this, and I'm going to share with you a story today that I really haven't shared externally to my company. And it's really about our purpose-driven journey to change. As Walter said, Campbell's is a 148-year-old company, and I'm the 12th CEO and the first woman CEO. And when I got the, thank you. I feel like I've been training all my life for this job, starting with my parents. My father was growing up, Sullivan was boot camp, let's put it that way. But he saw the world opening for women, and he said to myself and my sisters, I want you to be ready for it. And so every single thing in my childhood was literally a training to be what I am today, and I'm eternally grateful for my parents. So what I'm going to talk to you about is the fact that the food industry is being disrupted, and it needs to be disrupted. There's an obesity issue, there's a relationship between food and health that's not understood, there's a nutrition illiteracy, and I have the honor of taking a great company like Campbell's and taking the philosophy of conscious capitalism and trying to make a change in that world. So I want to take you all the way back to when I started this job. We were facing serious business challenges. Our stock price was $32 a share and hadn't increased in over 5 years. We were performing in the bottom tier of the food industry. Canned soup was 42% of our business and declining. And we were generating an insignificant amount of sales from soup and simple meals. And several other businesses were in decline, including Europe and Australia and our North America food service business. So the first thing I did was look outside the company and say, what is going on in the world right now that we need to understand? Because instead of us making food and trying to sell it to consumers, what if we thought about listening to consumers and making food that they really wanted? So I talk about the seismic shifts, the first one being changing demographics, where you had 80 million baby boomers and then a new cohort of 80 million millennials coming up. And they shop differently, they think about food differently, and they connect differently through technology. We needed to understand them in order to be relevant to them. The consumer preferences for food have fundamentally changed. People want healthier food, and health and wellness means different things to different people. So what's right for me can be defined a number of different ways, and it was really, really important to listen to that. Digital continues to transform the way consumers interact and shop for food. Everything from how they connect, total corporations will be totally transformed over the next decade by digital. And people can hide under a rock and suck their thumb and be afraid of that, or you can embrace it as an incredible opportunity. And I choose the latter. And then there's this trend which we call wired for well-being. You know, I wear a Fitbit. I don't know if anybody else does. 69 million wearables sold this year. People are tracking everything. By the way, I tried to wear it to sleep and track my sleep, but I got up every hour saying, what does my chart look like? What does my chart look like? So I obviously can't do that, but I am measuring steps. But more important, this is a fusion of health and technology. And so we see a world where health, technology, and food are intersecting, and opportunities are at that point of intersection. So while this is all going on externally, our journey took us forward from 2011 to the present, where we have been substantially transforming our company to create a foundation where we could respond to these seismic shifts and to grow. And I'm going to take you through a couple of the things we did, be it acquisition or reorganization, reallocation, really getting rid of businesses that were not performing and making sure that we were allocating our resources to create the future for the company to really deliver for our consumers. And I'm going to get, in a minute, I'm going to talk to you about what enabled this transformation, and trust me, we are not done. We have a lot more to do. What enabled it was this incredible sense of purpose. And I'm going to tell you the story later on, once I take you through all the changes, so you can actually see why having a purpose is so important when you want to unite people on a mission to do amazing things. So the first thing we did were fundamentals. We improved the execution across our core business and leveraged all the drivers of demand, whether it was better distribution, better price value, better product assortment, expanding into growth channels, improving our marketing so that we had more connection. In fact, today, 40% of our marketing spend is in digital. I spent lots of times with millennials, and the first thing I ask them is, how many of you watch TV? And nobody's hands goes up. So for baby boomers, TV is still an important media, but you have to think of the world today in screen sizes and content that can fit on a smartphone all the way up to the big screen TV. And then finally, and the most important thing, is quality. Quality, 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 because the consumer deserves the best quality at the lowest imaginable cost. One of the things that we did was we closed several underutilized plants and consolidated our supply chain. As the marketplace has changed, companies need to adjust their supply chains to deliver for consumers. We exited or restructured challenged international businesses. I remember sitting in a living room with a consumer in Russia. We had a good soup product there. We had a great distributor. We had great presence. But the product wasn't selling. And I asked her, I said, if you had an extra $1, what would you spend it on? And she said, clothes and cosmetics. I'm like, I'm in the wrong market. In China, they said food and family. And so we stayed in China. But we exited Russia. We exited our soup and simple meals business in Europe because we were not going to invest there. We restructured our Mexico business and did a partnership with Jumex and La Costeña, who could work that market much better than we were able. And we restructured our JV with Swire in China so that it was poised to be more profitable. The other thing we did, and it's really important when you're leading change, is to really focus people on what's important. So we basically said, we need a greatness agenda. That's the roadmap for driving our growth. And we were really determined to define the future of real food. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But we held ourselves to a dual mandate to strengthen our core business and at the same time expand into faster growing spaces. And all the while, the underpinning of that is really creating a high performance organization. So we picked 4 places where we really believed we needed to go to set this growth agenda. The first was about real food, transparency, and sustainability. And this is something that has transformed everything at Campbell's. The second is digital and e-commerce. We're still working to understand the tsunami that's going to hit the beach, but all you have to do is look at music and books and cosmetics to know that it's coming to food, and we need to be ready for it. Health and well-being, expressed in fresh food, expressed in natural and organic food, and really responding to consumers' desire to have the best possible ingredients in the food that we make. And then finally, snacking. And I have a real passion for bringing healthier snacking to the marketplace. But having a high-performance organization means that we really had to work on our talent and our culture in order to change the company. And so transforming the way we work becomes an ongoing mantra at Campbell's. And then there are several enablers to this growth agenda. So to collaborate to grow faster with strategic customers and suppliers, innovate to deliver new products to consumers, manage our costs and margins to invest for growth, and the invest for growth is the operative word. We have cut back, we have reallocated, but we are reinvesting, and one of the major investments we're making is improving our food, is making sure we're getting better food to the consumers, and then making smart external development. So we have made multiple acquisitions that have enabled us to advance 2 new growth platforms. We bought Bolthouse Farms, which makes us the largest carrot supplier in the United States. We also have the fresh juices and salad dressings that came with that acquisition. We introduced cold pressed juice 1915 last year. We have Garden Fresh Gourmet, salsa, and hummus. And then we also acquired Plum Organic Baby Food. Neil Grimmer, who was the founder of Plum Organic Baby Food, is here today. And Neil still remains with the company. He's doing our first startup now, arm's length from the company, but he's still connected. And then we bought the Kelsen Group, which had 40% of its sales in China, which gave us a platform there. So this whole area of health and well-being and getting into fresh and natural organic is now a $1.5 billion business for Campbell's. And then the snacks business, we were able to add the international platform. We created 3 divisions with these acquisitions that enabled us to establish portfolio roles and differentiated investments. So America's Simple Meals and Business, which houses our core business, is really managed growth and is significantly improving margins. This is the economic engine that's funding the accelerated growth that we expect from Campbell Fresh and the managed growth that we expect from our snack business. But for those of you that don't know this, Campbell's owns Pepperidge Farm, and we own Bolthouse Farms Plum. We have a number of different brands beyond canned soup. And today, in 2016, soup is only 34% of our business. And it's not that it got so much smaller, it's just that we got more diversified around it. And canned soup is about 19% of our business. We have over $1 billion now in fresh food. And so I'm wildly excited about the way we've been able to bring these new companies into the Campbell family and have platforms for growth. One of the things we did in our transformation was create integrated global services. When you run a corporation, there's always a tension between what gets done centrally and what gets done out in your divisions. And you want to keep work in the divisions to cultivate the entrepreneurial spirit and the empowerment that those divisions will feel. But yet there are some things that instead of doing it 3 times by each division are much more effective and efficient if you do that at the center. And knowing how to delineate that is really important. And we were able to rebalance the company to keep the things that needed to be differentiated against the consumer and customer out in the marketplace, while we centralized some of the transactional services or outsourcing or knowledge services that were much more effective and efficient being done one way. We restructured our employee base, and this is really interesting. We actually have 1,000 fewer positions overall, but in the process of this, we honored people for their service, and we literally changed the population at Campbell so that today we have many more Gen X's and millennials than we do baby boomers. And we went through a series of steps to do that in a very respectful way, because there are people that were long tenured, that had many, many years of service, that we were eternally grateful for, that were ready to retire, and we were ready to help them do that in a way that honored them, but also made a runway for change in the company going forward. We reduced costs, and we reinvested those savings back into the business. We're investing against new models of innovation, M&A capabilities, real food and transparency, and an expansion into Southeast Asia. And we established new markets for innovation. This is unusual for a corporation to do this, but in addition to our internal innovation and external innovation, we established open networks and call it an ecosystem of innovation. And Carlos Barroso is here today. He's the head of R&D, and he's been literally leading with all of the relationships in the marketplace, because we don't know what we don't know sometimes, and we can really learn from some of the entrepreneurs that are out there that are changing food, that can bring those ideas into Campbell's and help us be a better company and deliver on our purpose. We have Acre Venture Partners, which is really working with seeding entrepreneurs in the food space, anywhere from ethically sourced agriculture to sustainable practices, all the way through to new kinds of food, which will really delight the next generation of consumers. We formed Project Habit, which Neil is working on right now. It's our first spin out and potentially spin in. I actually went and talked to John Chambers at Cisco to understand how they did this in the technology world, and he was really a great resource to teach us how to do this. But it's been wildly exciting, and we're going to be launching that company in the next couple weeks. And then in mergers and acquisitions, we continue to look for great bolt-on acquisitions that are true to our purpose and can help us advance. So, heading into this year, and our year starts August 1st because we're on the tomato calendar, but headed into this year, we're much stronger poised for growth. And we have good cash flow. Our stock price actually reached a record high. Like everybody else, it's been a little volatile in the marketplace, but it's still 75% higher than F11. Our company is purpose-driven and driving dramatic culture change. And the organization and process have been streamlined because it's all about agility and resilience today. And as I said to you, our portfolio is much more diversified. We have 2 scale platforms for growth. I talked to you about we're, I believe, the number 2 in the industry right now for health and well-being and vegetable nutrition. We have 11 billion servings a year of vegetables to consumers and 4 billion of grains. And we have also a growing snacking platform in both North America and Asia. And we're much more competitive in the marketplace. But I couldn't have done any of this without our company purpose. And I remember in 2011 going to my leadership team and saying, look, we know what we want to do, we know how we want to do it, we need the why. Why are we doing this? What is the higher order reason for our work? And they said, no, Denise, no, we're not ready to do that. The company's in decline, we've got to solve for that first. Well, 2 years later, and a new leadership team, we got after the company purpose. And quite frankly, it has been the single most important thing that I could have done for this company. And I didn't do it alone. I say I, meaning we. But you could knock me over with a feather, the impact that this has had. Let me explain that. Before the company purpose, real food that matters for life's moments, we talked at Campbell's about shipping cases. We talked about tomatoes processed for yield. That's what we talked about. Today, we're talking about our food. What's in our food? How is it made? How can we get the most flavorful tomatoes? How can we really bring better nutrition to consumers? How can we work with kids so that they eat better? Plum Organic Baby Food is not just a baby food brand, it's a platform to give children kale when they're in their, they're 6 months old. It's wonderful. You're training taste buds for the future so that they crave healthier foods, not the stuff that they're eating today. All I'm saying is that this emotionally gripped Campbell's. You can get people to come to work with their head and their hands. But when you get people to come to work with their heart, amazing things can happen. And this became a galvanizing force to attract and retain and motivate our people, and in ways that are just still stunning me every single day. Real food, I'll talk to you about that in a minute, because we've had great debates in the hallway about what is real food. But I want to spend a little time on the that matters, because the that matters is really what conscious capitalism is all about. We have captured the that matters as a double entendre. Of course, it's what matters to consumers, but it's also what matters in our social responsibility. We have at Campbell's in our DNA a real sense of social responsibility that dates way back to our founders who were entrepreneurs in their day. And today we have programs like Healthy Communities. I mean, we're headquartered in Camden, New Jersey. right? I mean, nobody even lives there. The point is that we have an enormous sense of responsibility to Camden. I mean, we have declared healthy communities where we're working in collaboration with the state of New Jersey, the mayor, Rutgers, Cooper Hospital, the Y, to reduce childhood obesity in Camden by 50%. And 40% of the kids are obese, 40%. I remember going into a classroom and sitting with a little girl, and she had these big doe eyes, and she looked at me and she said, "I've never had a blueberry." My heart broke. Imagine a child in America today that didn't even know what a blueberry tastes like. So what we've done are things like the corner store program, where we try to get a supermarket to come into Camden, but it is not exactly an optimum place to open a supermarket. So we brought the healthier food to the corner stores where people shop every day, and gave children and families access to fruits and vegetables that they hadn't had before. We made the streets safer so that the kids could go out and play. We have an investment in the kitchens at the Kroc Center so they have a place that they can do after-school activities. We've done urban gardens. And then we've taken healthy communities to Norwalk, Connecticut, where Pepperidge Farm is, to Ferndale, Michigan, where Garden Fresh Gourmet is, and to many of the cities where our plants are. That's just one example of some of the things that Campbell's is doing. And our people love that. And I believe strongly that people need to give back to the community, especially the communities where we live and work. Another example is we have a 60-acre solar farm that we put in our Napoleon, Ohio plant. It's now doing 15% of the energy, and we did it for the right reasons. We wanted to get rid of coal and go to solar as an alternate energy source. And the surprise was we actually are saving money doing it, which, again, that's when it's a win-win. But I'll tell you, that's the shared value I'm talking about. If you can find things to do that are the right things to do, and in the process it's a better economic opportunity, there's no reason why those two things can't go hand in hand. So real food, which I'm going to talk about, that matters, which is our social responsibility, but it's also the life's moments. And they're not our life's moments, they're the consumer's life's moments. And consumers make the moments, and hopefully our food makes them a little bit more special. As Walter talked about, leading the way on transparency is a really important idea for us. On the left side of this slide, you see our website that Walter talked about. It's called what'sinmyfood.com. I encourage you to look at it. We're continuously improving it. It's a good start, but it could always get better, and we continue to add more brands to it. And then, of course, we did take a position on GMO labeling because we believe that consumers have the right to know. They just have the right to know what's in their food. And when we took this position, and we did it because it was the right thing, I kid you not, I have thank you notes from consumers from floor to ceiling. I had never, ever had a response like that was so visceral. And so we knew we did the right thing here. And it was hard. I can't tell you how lonely the GMA board meeting was. But you know what? Sometimes leadership is courage. So what is real food? Again, we've had these great debates. And so we went back. It's funny, when you create the future of a company, sometimes you go back to the founder. And Dr. John Dorrance, an entrepreneur in his day, invented condensed soup. And he was the first entrepreneur that was able to take vegetables off season and distribute them throughout the whole year in the United States using a can with no preservatives. The soup to this day is sterilized. And he asked 3 questions. Are the ingredients of a grade we would serve at our own table? Does the combination appeal to our own sense of taste and smell? And is the price within the reach of most pocketbooks? And we took a step back and said, oh my goodness, we're asking ourselves the same thing today. How do we make delicious, nutritious, safe, affordable food accessible to everyone? And so we set out to define our real food. And the first thing we said is that real food is food that we're proud to serve in our own home. When you declare that, it sets a much higher standard. And so we're really excited about that. The second is we're saying that real food has roots. It's not made in a lab. It comes from plants and animals. It's recognizable, desirable ingredients. If you want good food, you have to have good ingredients. And we're about simplicity, and we have been spending a lot of time and a lot of the investment that I just talked to you about in making sure that we are getting the best ingredients in our food. The next thing we said is that real food is prepared with care. It's responsibly sourced, it's ethical, and it has sustainable agricultural principles. And we are behaving our way into this. And we've declared several things. We've talked about removing some things from our food. We have no artificial ingredients, no artificial flavors. We're on a journey to get to cage-free eggs. We are on a journey to get rid of high fructose corn syrup. We are really investing to get BPA out of our cans. We have millions of cans now in the marketplace without it. I mean, the scale of what we do, this takes time, but we are working it and we believe in it. And it's all inspired by our purpose. Real food should be accessible to all. Real food isn't just for the elite. We make products that are $1.50. Some of them are under $1. We want to continue to operate our company in the most effective and efficient way so that we can make real food affordable to people. We really believe in this. We think this is the right thing to do. And then finally, transparency builds trust. And we intend to continue to set the standard for transparency in the food business, even though sometimes it's a lonely place to be. But I'll tell you what, of all the ingredients in any food, or all the ingredients in any business, transparency is the #1 ingredient for building consumer trust. And if you don't have consumer trust, you've lost it. You've lost it. So very important to us. The other thing we realized in our journey, in addition to our purpose, is the importance of culture. So I took my team to a place called The Factory in San Francisco. And we went through an exercise that literally flipped the pyramid upside down and put culture at the top and said, if we want to innovate and create real food that matters for life's moments, we must change our culture. And we went through this exercise of problem solution, which was really, really transformational. And I actually took that back and put my top 100 leaders through the whole exercise to make sure that we were continuing to get the leadership to think differently so that that could cascade down into the rest of the company. The other thing that happened was a small team came into my office one day and said, Denise, we need to change our values. And I was like, oh my gosh, you don't change values. Values are like sacrosanct. Those are your anchors. Our values were character, competence, teamwork, and when I first took this job, courage. And then they said, well, those are corporate speak words on a chart. What if we answered the question, what do we value? And I said, okay, let's do that. Let's do that. So the team went away and they worked diligently on this, and then they engaged the leadership team, and I'll show you what we came up with. The first thing they came up with is do right and be real. Seek the power of different. Dare to disrupt and own it like a founder. So do right and be real is really about always acting with integrity, to be authentic, to build trust through transparency, and keep your word. These are all things that I know I have my personal values, but to hear the team say this is what we want to be as a whole company, this really brought integrity to life for me. Seek the power of different is really about using your voice. Be open, be curious, Listen for the unexpected. And I love this. Be different, but go together. So respect for the differences of people, not just gender and ethnicity, diversity of thought, but act as a team. Be different, go together. Dare to disrupt. For a Fortune 500 company to say this as a value was over the top. But we all held hands and said, we need to disrupt because there's an opportunity to serve our consumers better with real food that matters for life's moments. So build it bold, risk together, reward together, experiment fast to learn sooner, and get uncomfortable. Which means that culturally, we have to create an environment where people feel okay about failing as long as they learn from that failure. We observe that in our entrepreneurs all the time. They fail, they learn, they iterate, they fail, they learn, they iterate, and finally they get a wow. And we need to learn to do that much better in our company. And then finally, own it like a founder. Act like your name is on it, see the big picture, make it happen fast, and wear your passion on your sleeve. I had a group of millennials come in my office and say, we were in Texas, and we were doing focus groups, and a single mother talked about the fact that she could not get good food for her children. She could not get real food that was affordable for her. And our heart went out to her, and we went back to the office, and we said we were going to fix that problem. And they got caught up in their daily routines and their lives and everything, and nothing happened. They went into Camden to do another one, and found a mom of 3 kids who had the same concern. And they said, we're going to work. And so they established the Soulful Project. And the Soulful Project literally is a team of millennials at Campbell's that put together like a Tom's business model where you buy, it's actually cereal with a few ingredients. It's very simple, very affordable, but you buy one and give one. And they partnered with the food banks. And it's been amazing what they've been able to do. And they have a test right now in 14 Wegmans stores in New Jersey, and the velocity of the product is 4 times what they forecasted. So while I'm giving them remediation and forecasting, the point is that it blew them away how the consumer responded to this, and all the people, all those moms with kids that are benefiting from this product through the food banks is over the top. Those people owned it like a founder. They behaved their way into what I'm talking about here. So how it all comes together to create a purpose-driven organization is, again, it starts with the purpose, real food that matters for life's moments. It's expressed in a real food philosophy, and people believe this. They're making decisions about it. They're changing the way we work because of it. And then the leadership behaviors that we expect at Campbell's, we expect our leaders to model it, we expect our organization to model it, and this is our values and our behaviors, how we live into our purpose. And all 3 of them will create the transformation that has to happen now going forward. Because like I said, humbly, we've made a lot of progress, but we have a lot more to do. So thank you so much for your attention, and that's it.